morning, July 1st, 1863. Josh Reynolds races up ahead of his column to talk to Buford. Heth's division of A.P. Hill's corps comes racing up the Chambersburg pike towards Gettysburg. Daddy need a new pair of shoes. You know, I'm going to try something different this video. Unlike the way it's regularly done, when units are fresh, I'm going to turn them label side up so that you can see them in the camera. When they're spent, I'll turn them label side down, like that. This will also make the detachments obvious when they first enter play. Since I'm playing solo and I know what's on both sides, the fog of war is not critical. Mostly it leads to fog of war for me trying to play the game by myself. These aren't all spent. These are all fresh. I'll turn them over if they're spent. The supply column moves up a little ways, comes out of column, and moves off the road. I certainly don't need them in the front this early. I want them off the road so they're not in the way of oncoming troops. Notice I've done the same thing with A.P. Hill's supply wagon. Buford's cavalry held up the advance with a short firefight and then fell back. Now it's mid-morning and elements of Howard's 11th Corps will be coming on, as well as elements of A.P. Hill's 3rd Corps. Now just an aside, Heth has been drawn first, and what an inexperienced pub battles player might try to do is this flank attack on Wadsworth's division. Ordinarily, that would be a good idea, but the Union hasn't moved yet. So when Wadsworth moves, he can slip out of there, Buford can come across and flank Heth, and Robinson can come forward and flank Heth. So that's why these sort of tactics aren't ordinarily done. Heth needs to be mindful of the whole Union line. Heth and his boys charged into Gettysburg, becoming dispersed in the town. Wadsworth is going to attempt to retake Gettysburg. Buford, being cavalry, can't attack into a city, but they can move out on the flank. So we're going to say it went like that. Rowley could have gone all the way to there, come out of his flank. So that's mid-morning, fighting in Gettysburg. Heth's men are easily defeated and Heth is thrown out of town. Turn 4, it's lunchtime. And there is fighting in downtown Gettysburg. The fighting is inconclusive. They were so broken up in the town, but the Union holds the town and Heth's troops have fallen back. And again, Buford's cavalry simply fall back from the combat after slowing up Rhodes' advance. Late afternoon. In bitter and dramatic fighting west of Gettysburg, Reynolds' corps is totally exhausted on that side, as are all the Confederate troops. There is nothing but desolation. As the shadows grow longer, there is time for one more effort. End of the day, Longstreet has arrived, and now it's the night turn. The long-missed Union artillery loggers begin to appear. Hancock and Meade arrive, take control of the situation. A.P. Hill rebuilds his line, though there's only remnants of Heth's division left. And now as we open on day 2, we see that the Confederates are all on, minus Pickett, who will show up later in the day, and Longstreet's artillery, which will come on first thing. The Union still has 2 more divisions, 2 more large full-strength divisions, plus another baggage train to bring on this day. From here on in, it becomes a tough battle for the South. But now they are in possession of Gettysburg. This could become a very political battle. Alright, it's turn 1 of day 2. Again, remember, I reversed it this time, so when you can see the labels, they're fresh. When you cannot, they're spent. Or they may be, this is just a detachment. Through the night, Meade and his generals have been feverishly running up and down the line, shoring it up, putting reinforcements in place, getting ready for the artillery to show up and come into line, getting ready for the next Confederate assault. Meanwhile, Lee and his generals have been in conference and they have decided that they have Gettysburg and they know the Union needs to hold and save Gettysburg. They're content to just hold tight, see what this day brings. Artillery is driven back, but Hood's division suffers heavy losses. They too are driven back. The artillery is driven back, disrupting the other artillery. Retreating Federal troops in the center are in a confused mass behind Cemetery Ridge. An exhausted McLaws and his division look over the top of Cemetery Hill. Now late morning, the tables have turned, apparently. Lee and the Confederate generals receive reports. The Union line is collapsing in the center. All is confusion and disarray. Lee says, "Let's finish him." They drive back the first assault with heavy losses. They drive back the second wave, and they hold. You can tell where the 1st Minnesota is located. However, here, Howard's left is in trouble. Barlow's division is driven from Culp's Hill, and there's nothing but a detachment of men left. But on Howard's right, skirts his Germans, hold tight, and drive back Early's division with heavy losses. And on the far right, Howard's extended line, his detachments, hold off the Confederate assault. Lunchtime on the second day, the Union Army is still holding, but they are in disarray. Lee believes they're near breaking. The Confederate pressure continues. Noon on day 2. Confederate drive in the center. Southern exhaustion is felt as all up and down the line. Their attacks fail. Their forces are driven back. Lee calls off the assault. Let us hope the losses have not been too many. It's early afternoon, and Pickett's division arrives. Desperate fighting on the flank eliminates the last of Heth's division. And Sykes' 5th Corps on the Union right. Other than Sickles' drive here, which was costly but successful, the rest of the Union attack has been driven back with heavy losses. Of note, however, is that Confederate losses have been heavy to this point. They've lost 7 blocks. 2 more, and they break. It's late afternoon. Sedgwick's 6th Corps arrives. Sickles' drive on A.P. Hill's baggage, unpacked baggage, leaves the bags exposed. Pender's detachment holds off Hayes as they fall back slowly. And over here northeast of Wolf's Hill, Early falls back and gives as good as he gets. It's after dinner time, and Lee realizes that there's just not a chance for him to break the Union Army at this point. It's time to fall back, rebuild his line on their original plans, hold on to Gettysburg, and let the North tire themselves out. But have they waited too long to do it? Some of A.P. Hill's units are within range to fire as Sickles' men, but they spend their time recovering to full strength. But Pender's troops fire on the Union artillery, causing them to fall back. Last attack of day 2 here in the center. Longstreet's quick thinking has them pull the artillery to cover, and Sedgwick's troops fall back in dismay as they've been outflanked. Day 2 comes to a close. Here we have day 3. The sun comes up. After recovering losses, the Union has 2 blocks and the South has 3 blocks as yet unrecovered. Both sides' cavalry corps are now on the board, Stewart and Pleasant. At this point, the North has a very disorganized and weak line, although they're in good terrain. The South is in good terrain, all their troops are fresh and recovered, almost, and they're in good terrain. The South's baggage trains are all unpacked, one here, and one here, so they're all within range of a good drive. But what does the Union have to do it with? They're pretty strong here in the center, and that's probably what it's going to take. Lee tells his men we've got to protect our supplies, our baggage, to keep ourselves strong. Let us focus on strengthening and reinforcing our line. Stuart's given his orders. He's going to replace some of Ewell's corps on this side of the line so Ewell's corps can condense and more stoutly defend their exposed bags. On Meade's side, they have to drive in the center and drive quickly. They too are going to request that Pleasanton bring his cavalry up on the right so the troops can commit themselves without fear of being outflanked in the drive here. Let's begin. Early morning combat. Let's see how this works out. Other than a slight bulge in the center, all the northern attacks have been pushed back. Getting close to mid-morning. One advantage to the South's artillery not being organized under Army command but under different corps command is that the corps are more able to coordinate their movement with the artillery. The Southern Army can more nimbly shift its artillery around, though it can't concentrate fire like the North. Slocum's drive in the center is driven back by Pickett's men. Late morning. Rowley's men, in trying to move forward around the cavalry or something, misstepped and were lost completely. Claw's main effort, his flank attack on Sedgwick's corps, causes Sedgwick's corps to fall back in disarray. Not a good turn for Sedgwick. Attacking division in the center wiped out. Perhaps Slocum's spent troops will have better luck. Elements of Rhodes' division are driven back, and the bags are exposed. You're in the woods. Barnes' attack falls back. And now we fall in desperate times. Will Slocum's men be able to follow through and capture the bags? Will Ewell's men have time to react and rush to save the bags? It's lunchtime, day 3. There's much fighting in front of the bags. Hill is losing control, but Union hasn't captured him yet. Hood's men are driven off of Culp's Hill. Howard's 11th Corps becomes exhausted in the fighting. Ewell's bags are safe. In vicious fighting, the Union cavalry attack stalls. It's early afternoon and still the issue is not decided. Here in Union left, Anderson attacks. Hancock pulls his exhausted men back. 1st Minnesota has been lost. Sykes' drive in the center. Early is driven back again. The bags are exposed. Steinwehr's exhausted division of Howard's corps pushes back Ewell's troops and then itself falls back. Here we are in the very late afternoon, and again, Ewell's bags lay open and exposed. 6th Corps is drawn and they move over Wolf's Hill, increasing the pressure on the southern bags. Longstreet's corps moves to release the pressure, but they cannot interpose themselves between Crawford and the bags. And finally, Howard's corps. Exhausted. Steinwehr's the only division left and it's down to almost nothing, but they're able to break through an end run around Rhodes' division and reach the bags. This has broken the southern line. So there you have it. Turn 6, day 3, Union victory at Gettysburg. Good game.